phone call, a lifeline in moments of crisis. A desperate plea for help when all hope seems lost. But sometimes, that call, meant to bring salvation, only serves to amplify the horror. It becomes a raw, unfiltered window into pure, unadulterated terror. The dispatcher on the other end, a calm voice amidst the chaos, hears things that haunt them long after they hang up. They listen to the last moments of victims, the frantic whispers of the hunted, the chilling confessions of the disturbed. Tonight, we delve into that chilling reality. We've scoured the archives of public record to bring you 5 of the scariest 911 calls ever recorded. These aren't just stories, they are audio fragments of true nightmares. Each call is a stark, unfiltered glimpse into the darkest corners of human experience, a testament to the fact that true horror often speaks with an ordinary voice, caught in an extraordinary moment of dread. From the chilling calm of a predator to the desperate cries of the trapped and the terrifying unraveling of sanity, these calls will make you reconsider the safety you feel in your own home. Prepare to listen to the echoes of pure terror, for these are the calls that no one ever wants to make and no one ever wants to answer. It was a quiet night at the 911 dispatch center. The clock was nearing midnight when the phone rang. The dispatcher, a veteran named Officer Daniels, answered with her usual calm professionalism. 911, what's your emergency? A woman's voice was on the other end. She sounded hesitant, almost nervous. Yes, I'd like to order a pizza. Daniels paused, a bit confused. Ma'am, you've reached 911. This isn't a pizza place. Oh, the woman said, her voice dropping a little. I'm sorry, I must have dialed the wrong number. But can I still order a large pepperoni? Now, Daniels had been doing this job for years. She'd heard it all. And something in the woman's tone, the subtle tremor beneath the forced politeness, pricked at her intuition. It wasn't a wrong number. It was a plea, a coded message. Ma'am, is everything okay there? Daniels asked, keeping her voice even, but injecting a hint of concern. Are you in some kind of trouble? No, everything's fine. The woman quickly replied, perhaps a little too quickly. I just really need that pizza. And maybe a few toppings. Do you have extra olives? The olives. Daniels connected the dots. She was probably with someone who was listening. Someone who couldn't know she was calling for help. The pizza order was a cover. The specific toppings were subtle hints. Okay, ma'am, Daniels said, shifting her approach. I understand. So, you're trying to order a pizza, and you're saying you're in a situation where you can't speak freely? A brief pause. Then, the woman whispered, almost inaudibly, yes. Daniels felt a surge of adrenaline. Okay, I'm going to ask you some yes or no questions. If you can answer, great. If not, just continue with your order. Do you understand? Yes, I understand, the woman replied, her voice still sounding like she was ordering dinner. So, about those olives, okay. Is there someone in the house with you who shouldn't be there? Yes. And I'd like mushrooms on that pizza too. Mushrooms. Another topping. Daniels was getting the picture. Is this person armed? The woman hesitated for a beat too long. No, I don't think so. Just make it a really big pizza. Daniels knew what that meant. She was trapped. She couldn't confirm if the person was armed, which likely meant they were close enough to hear her every word. She couldn't risk a direct answer that would alert her captor. All right, ma'am. I've got your pizza order. We're sending someone to your address right now. Do you know where the person is in the house? He's right here, in the living room, waiting for the delivery with me. Daniels kept talking, pretending to take the pizza order, asking about delivery instructions, but her fingers were flying across her keyboard, dispatching officers to the address, relaying every piece of information she'd gathered. She told the officers to approach silently, to be aware of a potential hostage situation. Minutes later, which felt like an eternity, Daniels heard commotion on the line. Shouts, the sound of a struggle, and then a male voice, angry and confused. What the hell is going on? Who ordered a pizza? Then, the line went dead. Daniels held her breath, waiting for an update from the officers on scene. A few minutes later, her radio crackled. Officers confirmed they had apprehended a man found in the woman's living room. He was her ex-boyfriend, who had broken into her home and was holding her against her will. He was unarmed, just as the woman had subtly indicated. She was safe, shaken, but unharmed. Daniels hung up the phone, her hands trembling. It was a terrifying testament to human ingenuity in the face of fear and the quiet heroism of a dispatcher who listened beyond the words. The woman had been incredibly brave, and Daniels, incredibly perceptive. It was a call that stuck with Daniels long after, a chilling reminder of the hidden terrors that can unfold behind closed doors and the desperate, coded pleas for help. This call came into the dispatch center on a seemingly ordinary afternoon. A young boy's voice, maybe 6 or 7 years old, was on the line. He sounded surprisingly calm, almost eerily so, for a child calling 911. "Hello, this is 911. What's your emergency?" the dispatcher asked gently. "My mommy is sick," the boy said, his voice a quiet monotone. "She's not waking up." The dispatcher's heart sank. This was a tragically common call. "Okay, sweetie. Where is your mommy right now?" "She's in her bed. I tried to wake her up for breakfast, but she won't move." The dispatcher began to go through the usual protocols, trying to get the address, asking if anyone else was home. The boy answered every question precisely, without a hint of panic. He gave the full address, his mother's, and confirmed they were alone in the house. "Okay, honey, paramedics are on their way right now. Can you go wait by the front door for them?" "Okay," the boy replied. Then, he added, "But I think she's already gone. She said she was going on a long trip." The dispatcher felt a chill. Such a young child, speaking with such a detached understanding of death. "We'll get help to her as fast as we can, sweetie. You just stay by the door." "Okay. Can I tell you something?" the boy asked. "Of course, honey. What is it?" "My daddy died last year," he said. "He told me to take care of mommy. And he told me he'd come back for her when it was time." The dispatcher was momentarily stunned. "Your daddy, is he there with you now, sweetie?" "No," the boy said simply. "But he's coming. He told me last night. He said he was going to take mommy somewhere warm." A shiver went down the dispatcher's spine. The casualness, the absolute certainty in the boy's voice, was deeply unsettling. He was too young to fully grasp the finality of death, but he seemed to be describing a conversation with someone. Just then, the boy's voice changed. It became softer, almost a whisper, filled with a sudden, profound wonder. "He's here. I can see him." The dispatcher held her breath. "Who's there, sweetie? Is it the paramedics?" "No," the boy whispered, his voice full of awe. "It's Daddy. He's standing next to Mommy's bed. He's smiling." The dispatcher, despite her years of experience with grief-stricken callers, felt an icy dread. "What's your daddy doing, honey?" "He's holding her hand," the boy whispered. "He's helping her get up." There was a sound of faint rustling. Then a gasp from the boy, filled with pure joy. "They're dancing. Daddy's dancing with Mommy. She's smiling." The dispatcher could hear the sirens in the background, getting closer. "Sweetie, the paramedics are almost there. You need to let them in." "They're leaving now," the boy said, his voice full of a gentle sadness. "They're walking to the light. They're holding hands." There was a brief, almost inaudible sigh, a sound of peaceful resignation. Then, the boy's voice returned to its initial, quiet calm. "Okay, I'm at the door. They're here." The line remained open as the paramedics arrived. The dispatcher could hear the muffled sounds of their entry, their hushed voices. A few moments later, one of the paramedics radioed in. The mother was deceased. She had passed away peacefully in her sleep, likely hours ago. The boy was found sitting calmly by the front door, just as he said he would be. The dispatcher never forgot that call. The image of a little boy, witnessing his parents' final reunion, not in fear, but with a serene understanding, was profoundly disturbing and deeply moving. It left her with an unshakable feeling that some children, untouched by the adult world's skepticism, see beyond the veil, privy to farewells that the living can only imagine. This 911 call is notorious for its chilling content and the utterly calm demeanor of the caller. It came in late one night, a man's voice, polite and articulate, on the line. 911, what's your emergency? Yes, hello, the man said, his voice completely devoid of emotion, almost conversational. "I need to report a murder." The dispatcher, a rookie named Sarah, braced herself. "Okay, sir. Can you tell me where you are?" "I'm at address. And the victim is in the apartment with me." "And who is the victim, sir?" Sarah asked, typing rapidly. "A young woman. She's no longer with us, unfortunately." Sarah felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The man's tone was profoundly unsettling. "Sir, can you tell me what happened?" "Yes. I killed her. About an hour ago. And I've been processing her." Sarah's blood ran cold. "Processing her?" She tried to keep her voice steady, to get more information. "Sir, what do you mean by processing?" A pause. Then, the man chuckled softly, a dry, humorless sound. "You know, cutting her up. Eating parts of her." Sarah gasped, barely managing to keep it silent. Her hand trembled as she typed, relaying the horrifying information to officers. She had heard grisly things, but never a confession delivered with such detached, almost academic calm. "Sir, are you still doing this now?" "Oh yes. I'm almost finished with the preparation. I wanted to make sure everything was in order before the police arrived. I like to be thorough." He continued to speak, calmly describing the tools he used, the parts of the body he was consuming, and his motivations, which were a chilling blend of curiosity and a twisted sense of culinary adventure. He spoke of the act as if he were discussing a recipe, occasionally offering unsolicited philosophical insights into the nature of human desire. Sarah was in a living nightmare, forced to listen to this man's grotesque monologue, trying to keep him on the line, trying to sound calm and professional while her stomach churned. She could hear faint, wet sounds in the background, a scraping, a slicing, that made her want to vomit. "Sir, are you alone in the apartment?" "Yes, completely alone. I prefer it that way. No distractions." "And you're still at address?" "That is correct. I'm quite comfortable here. And I'm looking forward to meeting your officers. I have a lot to discuss with them." The call continued for several agonizing minutes. The man even offered Sarah advice on her diet, suggesting certain cuts of meat he found particularly flavorful. His politeness, his complete lack of remorse, and his chilling intellectualization of his actions were far more disturbing than any angry, frantic killer Sarah had ever encountered. Finally, Sarah heard a distant siren. "Sir, I think the officers are approaching your location now." "Ah, excellent," the man said, a hint of genuine pleasure in his voice. "Right on time. I'll just clean up a bit. You know, first impressions." The line went dead. Officers arrived shortly after, finding the scene exactly as the man had described. The apartment was a scene of unspeakable horror, and the man was indeed calmly tidying. This 911 call came from a remote area, deep in a state park, from a frantic camper. The connection was poor, crackling with static, but the caller's terror was crystal clear. 911, what's your emergency? Help, please. I'm in the woods. I don't know where I am. A man's voice screamed, ragged with panic. The dispatcher struggled to get a clear signal. Sir, calm down. Can you give me your location? What happened? Something's out here. It's hunting me. The line went in and out, the man's voice breaking up. Sir, can you describe what's hunting you? It's not an animal. It's big. And it's making this sound. Suddenly, the man on the line let out a blood-curdling scream, followed by a series of crashing noises, as if he was running blindly through thick underbrush. Then, amidst the static, a sound emerged that made the dispatcher's blood run cold. It wasn't a growl, or a roar, or any animal sound she had ever heard. It was a rhythmic, deep, resonant thump-thump-thump. It sounded like something impossibly heavy, something with immense power, was walking on two legs, slowly, deliberately, through the forest. Each thump was followed by a soft, guttural breath, almost a hiss. It was the sound of a patient, relentless predator. Sir, are you still there? The dispatcher yelled, her own voice cracking with alarm. The man's voice came back, closer this time, but distorted by fear. It's right behind me. Oh God, it's making that noise again. The thumping sound intensified, now closer to the microphone, vibrating through the phone line. The dispatcher could hear the man's ragged gasps for breath, his frantic footsteps. Then, the thumping stopped. A terrifying silence fell over the line, broken only by the man's choked sobs. It's watching me," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "It's standing still." The dispatcher tried to talk him through it, to get him to describe what he was seeing, but he was too terrified. "Sir, can you try to find a landmark?" "Anything. It just whistled," the man whispered, his voice trembling. "It whistled a tune. Like a person. But it wasn't a person. It can't be a person." The dispatcher heard it too. A faint, high-pitched whistle, a simple, almost childlike melody, cutting through the forest silence. But the sound was layered, somehow, with that deep, resonant thumping, as if the whistling came from something that was both incredibly large and unnervingly human-like. Then, the man screamed again, a raw, primal sound of pure terror. More crashing. The thumping returned, faster now, closer. The line went into a frenzy of static and guttural growls that were not human, but not animal either. Sir, are you there? Talk to me," the dispatcher pleaded. A final, horrifying sound ripped through the phone line. It was a wet, tearing sound, followed by a gurgle, and then a series of frantic, desperate thumps that quickly faded into the distance. And then, absolute silence. The line went dead. The dispatcher sat there, trembling, trying to process what she had just heard. Search and rescue teams were dispatched immediately, but they never found the caller. They found his campsite, undisturbed. They found signs of a struggle near where the call had ended. And they found a series of enormous, unidentifiable footprints, unlike anything known to science, leading deep into the wilderness. But the man was never found. That call haunted the dispatcher for years. The memory of that strange, rhythmic thumping, the unearthly whistle, and the man's desperate screams against a predator she couldn't name, left her with an unshakable belief that some things in the deepest wilderness are best left undisturbed, and some calls reveal horrors that defy explanation. This call was from a terrified little girl, barely old enough to speak clearly, her voice trembling with fear. It came in late at night, around 3 a.m. 911, what's your emergency? There's a monster, the little girl whispered, her voice barely audible. Under my bed. The dispatcher, a mother herself, recognized the fear in the child's voice. Okay, sweetie. It's just your imagination. Monsters aren't real. But it's talking, she insisted, her voice tight with terror. It's telling me things. The dispatcher tried to reassure her, asking for her address so she could send an officer to check on her, to make her feel safe. The girl gave the address in tiny, broken sentences, clearly struggling with the numbers. Okay, honey, a nice officer is coming to your house. Now, what is the monster saying? The dispatcher asked, trying to keep her calm. It says my mommy is sleeping. And she won't wake up. The dispatcher felt a sudden chill. That was an odd thing for a child to say, especially for a make-believe monster. Where is your mommy right now, sweetie? In her bed. The monster said she's very sleepy. And it's happy. And you're alone in the house with your mommy. Is that right? Yes, the little girl whispered. And the monster wants me to come out. The dispatcher quickly dispatched officers. This was no longer just a child's nightmare. This was a potential welfare check. The girl's answers were too specific, too unsettling. Okay, sweetie. You stay in your bed, okay? Don't go near the monster. But it's calling my name now, the girl whimpered. It says my name, and it wants to play. Then, the girl gasped. It's laughing, she cried, her voice rising in pitch. It's laughing under my bed. The dispatcher could hear it faintly in the background. A low, guttural chuckle, deep and resonant, a sound that no child could make. It was indeed coming from directly beneath the girl, from within the confined space under the bed. It was a laugh of pure, malevolent glee. Sweetie, you just stay very still, the dispatcher urged, her own heart pounding. The police are almost there. It's trying to touch my foot, the girl whispered, her voice a thin thread of terror. It's reaching out. The dispatcher heard a faint scrape, followed by a sharp, high-pitched scream from the girl. Then a thud, and a frantic, muffled struggle. The phone clattered, the sounds became distorted. Sweetie, are you there? The dispatcher yelled, frantically trying to get a response. A moment of silence. Then, a new voice came onto the line. It was deep, raspy, and filled with a chilling, triumphant glee. It was the same voice that had chuckled from under the bed. "She's not here anymore." The voice rasped, a wet, sickening sound accompanying the words. "But thank you for calling. You helped me find her." The line went dead. Officers arrived minutes later, finding the front door unlocked. Inside, they found the mother, deceased in her bed, having passed away quietly in her sleep hours before. But the little girl was gone. The house was empty. There was no sign of forced entry, no struggle, just the undisturbed home. The little girl was never found. That call haunted the dispatcher for the rest of her life. The memory of that innocent child, the malevolent chuckle, and the final, terrifying words from an unknown entity proved that some monsters aren't just in children's imaginations. They are real, and sometimes they answer when you call for help. The thin thread of a phone line can connect us to the most profound depths of fear. Tonight, we've listened to those connections, to the desperate pleas and chilling confessions that stain the archives of 911. From a coded pizza order masking a cry for help, to a child's serene goodbye to a grieving parent, the casual depravity of a cannibal, the primal terror in the wilderness, and the ultimate horror of a voice from under a child's bed. These calls are more than just incidents. They are visceral fragments of terror, moments when the thin veil of normalcy ripped apart to reveal something truly horrifying. They remind us that help can be near, but danger can be closer. And sometimes, the most terrifying stories are not written, but spoken, in the raw, panicked moments of an emergency call. Which of these chilling calls resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts, and perhaps your own experiences, in the comments below. If these unfiltered moments of terror kept you on edge, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more true horror tales that will make you question the sounds in your own home. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another journey into the dark. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes, when you dial for help, something else might be listening.